I was born in Rivera, Texas, March the 21st, 1926. And my mom and dad are Grace and Orlando Underbrink. Oh, my dad was a hard worker. He did farming and carpenter work, and of course raised a large family. So he had to work hard. And he always loved to have a garden and work in the fields, and of course build houses. And my mom, of course, she was always busy with a bunch of children, and she did a lot of patching. People, the ones kids that wore holes in the knees of their jeans or overalls, she had to patch, and the girls tore their dress, she had to patch, and she always baked a lot of bread, did a lot of canning, and she was a good mom. I have, well, there was 13 of us in the family, but 2 died when they were babies. So my mom and dad raised 11 children, and there was 8 girls and 3 boys that they raised. And now in 2011, there's only 6 of us left. And the oldest is 92, and the youngest is 80. I was number 10. Oh, we always lived out in the country, and we always had lots of work to do. And of course, we had playtime too. And we didn't run around and do much going out. At that time, there was not much to do out. Oh, let's go visit a cousin, or go to a church picnic, something like that. I doubt whether I went to Kingsville 3 times in my whole life till I was 20 years old, which was 15 miles away. And we had good times. Of course, we had bad times.
What were some of the bad times?
Oh, well, I don't remember this, but my oldest brother got bit by a rattlesnake and lost one of his fingers. And I really don't recall anybody else having anything bad happen to them. I can't recall anything. Except me, I got bit by an asp one time when I was about 6 or 7 years old, and I thought I was going to die. It hurt so bad. Cried. That's all I could do. It's just, guess back then, probably my mom put coal oil on it. Back then, that's what they used, coal oil, turpentine. That's about it. It was bad. I was probably about 5 or 6 years old. Oh, playing with my brothers and sisters. We played baseball a lot, and we had made up our own games. We didn't have things like kids do nowadays. And I said, I don't feel sorry for kids nowadays. They don't know anything except their computers and TV. And but we always had fun doing something. When my daddy started Loyola Beach, he used to go out there and spend some time out there and go swimming. We had fun doing that. I was probably 9, 10, 11, 12 at that time. No, I never did like fishing. I don't like to fish. No, I don't like water. I don't like to go out in the water. I went swimming, but I didn't go in very deep water. We'd get up in the morning and go out and milk the cows. Well, I started milking a cow when I was 5 years old, and we'd milk the cows. We had between 16 and 20, 25 cows, and we didn't sell the milk. We had a separator, and we separated the milk and sold the cream, and they'd take it to, a truck would come by and pick it up and take it to the creamery in Kingsville, which was 15 miles away. And that's where they made their butter and ice cream. And when we get through milking and cleaning up the separator and everything, well, we'd go in and have breakfast. Of course, if we was going to school, we'd get ready to go to school. And we walked 2.5 miles to school, 2.5 miles home. rain or shine. And then when we got home, we'd change our clothes and go out and get ready to milk again and do the same thing we did in the morning. And then come in and have supper, not dinner, supper. And then after supper, we studied our lessons by a lamplight when I was young. And anyway, then we'd go to bed, get up in the morning, start over again. It was a big iron thing stood up about that high, and it had a big tank up on the top of it, and then the tank had a spout on it. And underneath this spout was two, I don't know what you call those things, about that big, and then they had a spout on them. One come out, you put the spout out, one this way and one this way, and in that spout was a bowl about this big, and it was full of little discs about that thick, and when the milk would run through that, it'd go around and around, and it'd throw the cream out here and the milk out here. And that was the way it worked. You had to turn a thing. Sometimes it's kind of hard to get started, but it wasn't, But you get tired by the time you get through getting all that milk out of there. Christmas was, to us, it was exciting, but we didn't have much. We was always excited about Christmas. And on Christmas morning, well, the night before, we'd set the table, the dining room table. Everybody put their plate around the table. And, of course, in the morning, we'd get up and we was all excited what we was going to get on our plate. We got up and we had an apple and an orange and some candy and nuts. And then the little ones, girls, got a little doll. And the boys maybe get socks and a handkerchief. And that was it. That's all my mom and dad could afford back then. And but we was always excited about it. We didn't know any better. That was it. Well, my mom did a lot of sewing, and we used to get boxes of clothes from my cousins that lived in Houston. They had, I guess they were pretty rich. Anyway, they'd send us a big box of clothes, and a lot of them fit me because the girls were my age. And we always had hand-me-downs. When one grew out of something, it went into the next one. And we always had special clothes to wear to church. That was our Sunday clothes. And then we had our school clothes and our work clothes. And no, that was it. That's all. I remember when I started school, I was about 6 years old, and we had gotten a box of clothes from my cousin, and there's a pretty little kind of a satiny dress with a pleats all around the skirt, and a little vest, and the little shirt was like lace. And my mom dressed me up in that, and I just, like if it happened yesterday, I can just see standing there at the door getting ready to go out to go to school. And my mom dressed me in that, and she said, "You look just like a great big doll." My dad would take a big crate of eggs to town, to Kingsville, and take them in the grocery store and sell them, and then he'd buy what we needed, like flour, sugar, shortening, salt, things we didn't raise. He bought that, and he'd come back with that in the egg crate, and sometimes he'd bring a little sack of candy, one piece for each kid. But we was tickled over that, and that was about the only thing we had to buy, because we raised everything out in the fields and in the garden. Well, I guess back in the Depression days, we ate a lot of red beans and potatoes, and I remember pumpkin pie, that I did not like pumpkin pie, and some things I didn't like out of the garden, like spinach. I didn't like spinach. And, but, we always had good meals. We never went hungry. But I remember my sisters tell me that when I was real little, I don't remember this, so I had to be real little, that I would stand up on the bench at the table and say, hold my dress out and say, best thing what I like is red beans and candy and ice cream. I don't remember that, so I must have been real little. Just one. My daddy was building the house. We lived in this old house while he was building the new house. And I remember he had one bedroom finished and the hurricane was coming through. So we didn't want to stay in that old part of the house that was left there. So we all stayed in this one bedroom when the hurricane come through. But I don't remember that it really did any damage or anything. I have to pull on this. Um, but that's the only one I remember when I was a kid. I don't remember the others. One was in 1916, one was 1919. And of course, then we had Hurricane Beulah came through in 67. That was bad. Tore up a lot. And Hurricane Allen did a lot of damage. But that's all. Well, I never did like school, but I went. And my sisters and brothers always helped me, with my lessons. And at night, we sit by the so-called oil lamp to study, and when I was little. And, but it was all right. My dad always said, if you haven't learned what you need to learn when you get out of grade school, you're not going to learn it in high school, because all you're going to learn in high school is smart aleck stuff. So I didn't go to high school. I went 1 year, 8th grade. Back then, 8th grade was the first year of high school. Well, the next year, I didn't want to go to school, and my dad didn't want me to go, but my mom did. So I thought, well, I'll go the first day. So I got on the bus, went to school, went through the whole school and got all my books and came home and never went back. So I went through high school in 1 day. We rode that little old bus. I showed you that picture. My dad was a carpenter, and he was a real good carpenter, but he never believed in putting money in the bank. He believed in keeping things going. So he'd buy an old house, tear it down, bring the lumber home and the nails, and us kids would have to get the nails out of the lumber and straighten the nails out, and he'd use those old boards and nails to build a house. Of course, I suppose he had to get some new lumber, and then when he'd get through building that house, he'd sell it and then buy another old house and do the same thing. That's what he always did. Just kept the money rolling instead of putting it in the bank. Oh, yes, I always loved music. I could sing when I was young. I could really sing. I'm not bragging, but I could sing. And used to sing in the choir. And when I was in school and I was about maybe 7 or 8, my teacher I was in a lot of plays, and I would usually be the lead in a play. And one time, my teacher, when I was about 8 years old, she found a song for me to sing, and I got out on the stage in front of all these people and sang this song, and the name of it is "This Little Girl's Not for Sale." And all I remember of it is, once on a time I asked Papa to tell what he would take for me if he should sell, thinking of course what he quickly would say, "This little girl's not for sale." I don't remember the rest. But I sang that out in front of all these people. I can't believe I did it, because I can't even get up and say hello in front of a crowd. But anyway, my daddy was so proud of me that I got out there and sang by myself. And he bought me a little glass doll. Oh, I was so proud of that little doll. He always told me, first guy that asked me to marry them, she was going to shoot him. So when Tony, my husband, asked me to marry him, I said, you better watch out, you're going to get shot. Yeah, I was my daddy's little girl. Yeah. One day when I was about 5 years old, I went out to catch me a glass of milk out of one of those milk spouts, and I went and stood by a post and was drinking it. And my mom called me. She said, "Laura, come here." And I said, "Just a minute." And I didn't go. And she called me again. "Laura, come here." "Just a minute." And the next time she called, my daddy was behind me, and he said, "I'll just a minute you." And he spanked me all the way up to my mom. I never just a minute again. I remember my dad gave me 3 spankings. That one, and one he wanted me to sing for my grandpa, and I wouldn't sing. And he thought I was being stubborn, but I wasn't. I just was shy. And so he gave me a spanking because I wouldn't sing. And another time he told me to pray, and I wouldn't pray. And he gave me a spanking. That's the only spanking I know of ever getting. Ever since I remember, we always had a piano in the house. My daddy loved music, and all of his family was real musical. They all could sing, play instruments, artists, everything, poets. And so my daddy wanted all of us to play some kind of instrument, but we didn't. I played the piano by ear, and my brother Harold played, and that's about it. To these church picnics, my daddy would give each one of us kids a nickel, and we'd get there and we didn't know what to spend the nickel on, because of ice cream, a little thing of ice cream was a nickel, bingo was a nickel, and go fishing was a nickel. We couldn't decide what to spend that 1 nickel on. I'd end up buying ice cream. I was about 14 and a half when I met Tony Strubhart, which was my husband. And I was too young to date him, but he would come to see me at the house, and I could go out with him if I went with my brother and his date. That's the only way I could go out with him. And he came from Aveston, Illinois, and he stayed down there at Rivera for a year, and then he went to service. In November of 1941, I was at our church picnic and was at the dance, and a bunch of us girls were sitting along the wall on a bench, and I see this guy come walking in the door, and I knew he was coming because he had brothers down there, and my sister had told me he was coming, and so I knew that must be him because I never saw him before. And he came and found out who I was, and he came and asked me to dance, and I fell in love with him at the dance. He was 7 years older than me.
And then in 42, he goes back to Illinois to enlist.
Yep.
Tell me about that at Aveston.
Aveston. He, in 42, he went back to Illinois, his home. He was going to be drafted, and he wanted to get in the Army. He didn't want them to put him where he didn't want to be, so he went there and drafted. He joined the Army in Aveston, Illinois, and he was here in the States. I forget which state he was in. Kentucky, I don't know. Anyway, he's supposed to be here for a year, and he was only here 6 months, and they sent him overseas, and he was over there for almost 4 years. Then he came back to Illinois, and he couldn't find work, and so he came back to Rivera, and we started dating again, and after he was there about 4 months, he asked me to marry him. And we got married January 16th, 1946. He wrote me letters during the war. Not a lot, but some. He'd say, "I can't tell you anything because he censors the letters." So he didn't write much of anything. Said he was doing all right and wanted to know how I was doing, and just a little short letter. Yeah, just a few things I remember is we had blackouts. I guess we heard it on the radio or on the phone, I don't remember. And we'd have to cover up all our windows and not have bright lights in the house. And that was just for practice. And another thing is during the war, they wanted peanuts for the oil, and my brother Marion would plant peanuts, and when they were ready to dig, well, he'd go out and dig them out, plow them out, and me and my two sisters and the Smith boys, the lady that taught me, wanted to teach me how to play the piano, her three sons, we'd go out and shook the peanuts, shook the dirt out of them after he dug them out, and turn them up so they'd dry. And we'd be black as full of dirt from head to foot. And then my brother would go out and pick them up and bring them in and thrash them. And then somebody, I don't know if we took them somewhere or somebody picked them up, and they'd use them, get the oil out of them for this army or whatever they used it for. I don't know.
Next to you.
Yeah, there was an airstrip about, if it'd go straight across, probably about 2 miles. And it was great big airplanes would go over the house and it sounded like it was going to take the roof off. And then they had a Navy base out close to the beach, and there was sailors out there. That's all I remember. Okay, Donald is my first child, and always wanted girls, but I had a boy, but he was just like a big baby doll. And I said that was my first live doll, because I always liked dolls. And he was such a beautiful baby. And everybody always said that I need to have at least a dozen if they was all that pretty. Well, I ended up having 13, so anyway. But he was always a real sweet baby. And then 10.5 months later, I had another boy, Frank, your dad, and he was a sweet little boy. And then I had David, and he was bald-headed, but he was a cute little boy. And then finally I got my girl, Suzanne, and she had a bunch of hair, and she was real cute. And then the next one was Danny, and he was a little blonde-headed boy. Everybody thought he was a girl because he had just pretty curly blonde hair. And then I had Leo, and he was black-headed, and he was a cute little boy. And then had Anthony, and he was a sweet little boy. He always wanted to help me all the time. And then had John, and the story about John is that I had the German measles. All the kids were having German measles, and I got them. And after I had them, it was time for my period, but I didn't start. So I went to the doctor, and he told me if I was pregnant, it was bad. And I turned out being pregnant. So I went through 9 months of not knowing what kind of baby I was going to have. And anyway, so always gets me. Anyway, he was born, and first thing I asked when he was born is, was he okay? And the nurse said, he's got all 10 fingers and all 10 toes. And I said, so he looked perfect fine. And then when he was 6 weeks old, saw that he had his eyes were all milky. He had cataracts. So took him to this doctor, and he said that he could do surgery on him when he was 9 months old. And when they found out that he was fine, nothing else wrong with him, he said he'd do it when he was 6 months old. So they called it needling of the cataracts, and he punctured them, and I had to put drops in his eyes every day, and I could see just the blue of his eyes. And then he wore glasses from when he was 7 months old. They were real thick glasses. And but he's the smartest one in the family. Then came Pat and Mary, the twins, and they were real cute. And then came Tim, and he was cute little. I always said he had a mouth like a little bird. Anyway, he was real cute. And then I got another girl finally. Well, Pat and Mary was twins. One was a girl, Mary, and then I had Laurie, and she's a beautiful little girl. And then Charles, the last one. He was born the day before I was 40. That was it. I made everyone a birthday cake at every birthday. Every birthday. Even my husband, I made birthday cake. We all had lots of cake. I enjoyed it. I never complained about it. It was work, a lot of work, but I didn't mind working. It was all, and of course, the older ones always helped out. So it wasn't, everybody always says, how come you aren't crazy? Like a spider web on me. And I said, well, I don't, it didn't bother me. I mean, I didn't think it was so bad. We had a dairy, and Tony and the boys would get up in the morning and go out about 3:30 or 4 to milk the cows. And I'd get up then and start ironing, and I'd iron all day long. I mean, all morning till time to fix breakfast. And then when it time to fix breakfast, I'd put my iron up. And the reason I did it then, because I had no interruptions from the little ones when I'd iron. And then after I'd fix breakfast, I'd fix a big old pan of oatmeal and fry bacon and eggs and make toast. And we had plenty of milk. And they always come in and eat like they were starved. And then I'd fix lunches for Tony to go to work and the kids to go to school. And then when they'd all leave, I'd start my day, fixing bottles, washing diapers, changing diapers. I'd go all day long washing, hanging up clothes, never had a dryer. And but I didn't mind. As long as I could keep going, I was fine. My mom used to say, Laura, I don't know how you do all you do. You've got to have some help from somewhere. And I said, believe me, I do. When I need help, I say, oh, God, please help me. And he does. When we got married, he was running a filling station in Rivera. And he did that for 2 or 3 years or 4, I don't remember. And moved to run a dairy for about 6 months and moved back to Rivera. Then from there, we moved to Ricardo and tried some farming and had chickens. And then from there, we moved to Refugio to the Welder Ranch, and Tony was foreman over the farming. And we all loved it there. I had 4, well, the 5th one was born there, Danny. And we always called him the Refugio kid. And then worked there for about 2.5 years, and he got laid off because the guy that went in the service came back and got his job back. And then we moved back to Rivera, and we lived there we're at our house in Rivera, and then we bought a piece of land out in the country and built a house there. And that's where we lived for I don't know how many years. Then we moved to the valley to real farms and did farming and dairy. And then we just lived there a year because nothing turned out the way they said it was supposed to. And then we moved back to Rivera. And then from there we moved up here. Oh, my grandkids were all so cute. The first one was Donald's Missy. And she was only 8 months younger than Charles, my youngest. So she'd come over and her and Charles would play together. They were so cute all the time. And one time they were playing together and Charles came to me and he said, "Mommy, Timmy said bad words." I said, "Well, I'm just going to have to wash his mouth out with soap." And so after a while, Missy got mad at Charles, and she said, "Bad words, bad words, bad words." I guess she thought she was saying bad words because I said, Charles said, Tim said bad words, or whoever it was. And anyway, I got so tickled at him. Bad words, bad words. And anyway, then had Donald, Missy, Tina and Katie. They were always so cute. They came and stayed with me quite a bit too. I always had fun with them. And then we had Shane, Frankie's son, and I didn't get to see him too often because he lived in the valley. Dano, she's always cute. She comes to the house, but she never wanted to stay with me. She'd cry. She didn't want to spend the night. And so many, I can't remember all of them, who all they were. But anyway, I always had fun with all of them. They were all cute. Well, one day he said, "We got to sell this place. It's just too big." We had to add it on to the house so many times. It was big. And so I said, "Fine with me, but I want to move where I want to move, or I'm going to stay right here." He said, "Where do you want to move?" And I said, "Where there's hills and trees." Because ever since I was just a little girl, I never was where there was hills and trees, but I saw pictures. Like, oh, I wanted to go where there was hills. And they were, and I'd think about running up and down hills. I don't know why that fascinated me, thinking about running up and down hills. And the big trees. And so I said, he said, "Well, where do you want to move?" I said, "Well, I don't know, where there's hills and trees." And so we had a little travel trailer, and we came up went to Quero and parked there and started looking for places and couldn't find anything. So one day we got a paper, and there was a little tiny ad in it, had Mini Ranch, Shiner, Texas. I never heard of Shiner, Texas, so I didn't know where it was. But the real estate man was in Hallisville, which is about 15 miles from here. And so we called him, and he said, "Do you know where our Sweet Home is?" And I said, "Yep." So he said, "Well, I'll meet you there on 531. Okay. So he drove out here where we're living right now. And when he got out to the driveway and turned in, and I saw all the trees, I said, "This is it. That's where I want to live." And I said, "If I don't like the house, I'll live under the trees," I told my husband, Tony. So anyway, we came on up and looked at the house. It was all right, but it was all real dark paneling. I didn't like that, but it was okay. So we didn't have the money to buy it right then, put any money down on it. So 3 years went by, and I lived here in my mind. I wanted to live here so bad. And so after 3 years, we had gone to LaGrange, and on the way home, I said, "Let's stop by this place." And Tony didn't want to, and I begged him to stop. So he stopped finally, but he didn't want to drive up in the yard. And I said, "There's two boys by a car," and I said, "Well, let's just drive up in there." So he did. And they said, "Yes, can we help you?" I said, "Well, we looked at this place about 3 years ago, and we wanted to buy it." And he said, "Well, it's for sale." And so he told us where to go to see about it. So we did. So we told him we wanted to buy it. So that was in November, and we moved here in February of '81. So it was for us, right? There wasn't a lot of trees around the house. There's lots of trees here, but not right around the house. So first we planted 2 ash trees right in the front. And then we'd go to the Frio River, and I'd pull up sycamore trees from the river and bring them and plant them. They was only about like a foot tall. And right now, you got pictures of them. They're, I don't know how many feet tall, which has been about 26, I don't know, years ago. They were pretty big. And they really shade the house, keep it cool. Oh, well, we could have went to Sweet Home. It's 5 miles away, and Shiner's 7 miles away. but we wanted Charles to go to the Catholic school, so we joined Shiner, and Charles went to Catholic school there for 3 years, and then and we loved it. We met a lot of people. Tony joined the KCs, and he joined the American Legion and VFW, and I joined all the auxiliaries, so we met a lot of people. And some people say, I never saw anybody know so many people in such a short time that you was here. Well, we joined everything, so you know, we met a lot of people. And so anyway, then they had half moon holidays, which is on the 4th of July. And I said, thought I was so proud of the people in China, how they could get all this together. Lasted 3 days back then. And I said, it was really neat. Had a big parade go through Shiner, and it was real nice. If I want to give some advice, I do not approve of the way the kids are these days. I'm just telling you the truth now. I don't approve of the way they dress. I don't approve of the way their parents give them all anything and everything they want. They're spoiled rotten. They stink. And but they're all sweet. But anyway, I think they should be taught back some things like when I was young, to do stuff on their own, not depend on a computer and a TV and all this things they hook up to their ears. I don't even know what they are. And that they should be, learn things on their own more. I said if computers would go out and calculators and all that, I don't know if kids would know how to add 2 and 2. I'm serious. I just think it's disrespectful where they dress and why they want to go in and spend money on jeans and shorts that are half rotten. Did it get on TV? And I said that's one thing about all of our children. I remember when the boys started high school in Rivera, the teacher, I always got compliments from the teacher that the boys were always so polite and so nice. And I said, well, I try to teach them, and I hope they're that way. So, at Christmas time, I forgot about that, go on that hayride. We just decided that would be fun to go on a hayride. So first Pat would bring his trailer up here, and he had a big trailer, and we'd borrow bales of hay from the neighbors and put it all around on the trailer. And then the grown-ups would sit on the bales of hay, and I'd put blankets down in the middle, and the little ones sit down on the floor. And somebody pulled it with their pickup and go to Shiner, ride all over Shiner, and sing Christmas carols, and get out at the park and play in the park, and the kids always loved that. One of my little great-granddaughters, Missy's little girl, she said one time, they had come up and it was real bad weather and we couldn't go. So she asked her mom, are we going on the hayride? And she said, I don't know. Said, it depends on the weather. She said, well, if we're not going on the hayride, I don't want to go. She loved to go on the hayride. So that was only one time, I think, that we didn't go on a hayride because the weather was bad. But anyway, we always had a lot of fun doing that, taking pictures and everything.
And the Chinese Christmas, how did that get started?
I read that in a magazine or something, and I decided we needed to do that. So everybody just brings some kind of a big gift for the Chinese Christmas, and we put a number on. How is it? We give everybody a number from 1 to however many is here, and then you draw your number out of a bowl or whatever, and draw a number. And if you get, how do we do that? They put the numbers in a bowl and we draw a number out. Yeah. And then each one goes and picks them out a gift, whatever they want. They're all in bags or wrapped up. And then if somebody else wants what you got, they can take it, and it might be something you really want. You don't want them to take it, but they take it. Then if you get to go again, you can get it back if you want, and do that for 3 times. I think you know. But that's always lots of fun. I like it.
And what kind of gifts when you first started? What kind of gifts did you want to encourage people to bring?
Something they didn't want. Something they didn't use or didn't want. Whatever. It didn't make any difference. Anything. Just anything.
So they don't have to go out and buy
No, didn't have to buy anything. Just anything you had around the house you thought you didn't want to use or anything. Didn't make any difference. I usually give a loaf of bread and a jar of jelly.
That's my most popular gift.
Yep.
I want you to read some of these if you can.
You sure?
Yes, not the the black jokes, but the oh yeah, that's not perfect. So start off with saying what it is. What is it you're reading there?
What is the what?
What is it that you're going to read right there?
This is embarrassing moments. My children said things when they were small. When the children were small, after a meal, I'd tell them, now go wash your hands and face, and go to the bathroom, wash your hands and face with a washcloth, and get a clean one. So they would, and one day, David and I went over to the neighbor's, and she gave David a piece of cake, and he got it all over his hands and face. And I said, oh, mercy, look at you now, you're a mess. And the lady said, oh, that's all right, I'll get a washcloth and wash it. So she got a washcloth and went up to him, was going to wash him, and David pushed her back and said, is it a clean one? Because that was embarrassing to me. And let me see. On Sundays, we'd go by a pasture where there was a bunch of cows, and it was real dry weather, and the cows looked like they were eating dirt. And I'd say, those poor cows. And so one day Sunday we went by, and there was no cows there. I said, well, Mr. Reese must have sold these cows. I don't see any cows out there. And Frank said, well, maybe they're standing north and south and you just can't see them. Okay, when Frank was about 7 months old, well, I had put him down to take a nap. And when he woke up, I heard him. So I went in the bedroom, and there he was standing up in his bed. He had dirtied his diaper and it fell out, and he was slinging it at the wall and the beds and at the bed, and had it all over his hands and face. And I looked at him and I said, you little shit slinger, you. One time, Donald, when he was 4 years old, he was watching his dad and a neighbor work on a tractor. And I guess they were using some foul language. And so anyway, later I called them in for dinner, and we sat down and ate. And after dinner, Donald said, Mom, can I help you with the dishes? I said, sure. Go wash your hands and pull a chair up here, and you dry the dishes. So he'd dry a piece, and he'd say, where does this go? And I'd tell him. He'd dry another piece. Where does this go? I'd tell him. Came to a piece of the coffee pot, and he said, looked at it, and he said, well, where in the hell does this go? And I started laughing, and I laughed so hard I thought I was going to die. I never got laugh so hard in all my life. I don't know what made me, just the way he said it, like as if, oops. Like, he'd said it just like if he said that all the time. It was so funny. Oh, I don't think I wrote this one down. One time I was singing Christmas carols to them when they were little, when we lived at the Welder Ranch. I had 5 little ones. I was singing Christmas carols to them. And one day at dinner, David looked up in a bowl and he said, Mom, what are these? I said, peas. He said, "You mean like roundian virgin mother and child sleep in heavenly peas?" Oh, when Frank was about 2 years old, he was standing at the window looking out, and there's a road right in front of the house. And he called me, "Mommy, Mommy, come here and look at the factor pulling the fuck." He couldn't pronounce words that started with a T. I just want all of them to know that I love them all, and I'm happy for them to all come up here anytime they wish, stay as long as they want. I'll feed them. I might put them to work sometime. But anyway, I'm always happy to have many of them come up anytime. Grandkids, great-grandkids, great-great-grandkids, whatever. And I told you, I said, you said I was going to live to be 100. I said, oh, well, some of my kids say I'm never going to die. I said, I don't know if I'm just going to be floating around here forever or what.